Hello, so I was watching this podcast earlier. Let me show you. Well, I'm actually still watching it. You can see it's called Consensus University on Spotify. And they made a really interesting point in it that I've never heard anyone before. And I don't know whether any of you have had this before. Hi. Where you see, I get it quite a lot, or I used to get it quite a lot. Where I used to live was sparkles in the environment, so little sparkly bits would just appear before my eyes, and I always kind of took a little bit of comfort in it, thinking it was kind of spirits or something watching over me, you know. But in this podcast, the guy actually explains that he's talking about someone who's gang stalked by the military, or the military industrial complex in America. And he talks about these sparkles, and they go and meet this. You can listen to it, it's a really interesting podcast. The guy wrote a book as well called Operation Mindfuck. Robert Gouffre, his name is. I've not read the book, but I might buy it. But he says he goes to meet the guy who designed this cloaking technology, this invisibility technology, and he says that he kind of tried to sell it to the military, and they were all really interested, and then eventually they all kind of backed away, you know. So this guy who was being gang stalked said to him about his experiences with the military in America, and about these sparkles appearing in front of his eyes, and he says, yeah, that's when the cloaking technology is used wrong. It's not being used properly, and this is what you kind of see in your eyesight. You know, it's all done with sound. It's like sounds are directed to hide it from your environment. And like I say, I used to see this a lot, and I've never ever heard anyone talk about it before, which is interesting. It kind of made me think about the floater that's in my right eye. And let me show you, I can change this screen. This is what it's shaped like. It's actually that way up. So it's shaped like, I don't know if you've ever had any, if you've ever played any kind of flight simulator or golf simulator games, and you have they'll put like the outline on the screen, like where the target goes, you know, it's like lines down. That's exactly what it looks like in my eye. And I can see it when, obviously, you know, a normal floater, when you look at the bright sunlight, but because it's so symmetrical, it's not naturally occurring, you know. And I think I've told this story before, where I woke up at one point one morning, and this day my daughter was there, my eldest child was there, and my eye was just constantly streaming. It wouldn't stop streaming, you know. It was just like water was just pouring out of my eye. And we were both laughing about it, you know. I was like, what the fuck is that? This is so strange. There was no pain or anything. But I think that's when they came in and they've inserted this thing. And my theory is, although I don't know shit, is that they're kind of putting sounds in my environment. It's like test subject kind of thing, isn't it? They're putting these sounds and these things in my environment, these registration plates, these symbols, these signs, etc. And then they're playing silent sound, you know, ELF sound in my environment, and they can monitor through my eyes what direction I'm looking at, you know, like a simulator. It lines up, doesn't it? Like the flight simulators, they've seen it, it kind of lines up exactly where you're looking, so they get a view of where it is that my eyes are focused, so they know if they play a certain sound where my eyes are focused. Also in my environment, if I'm staying in an environment for a long time, obviously I'll have to walk the same routes, go to the same places, so they'll begin to pick up an algorithm, if you like, of where I'm looking at certain points. You know, if I step on the curb, I look at the ground at this point, you know. If I'm crossing a road, we all naturally, as you cross a road, you look in certain directions, but there'll be places in your environment, bloody flies buzzing around me, there'll be places in your environment where you'll look certain ways, you know. So obviously they can put things then in these, I don't know why they've just cancelled that, maybe because I wasn't taking a photo. They can put these things in your environment so they can see that you're going to focus on them, you know, because they know exactly where your sight is drawn in that particular instance, you know. It kind of takes me back to my dad, when my dad died. And like I say, my dad wasn't murdered. My dad was also a part of this, you know, a test subject by the military, or a MK Ultra, whatever you want to call it, you know. When he died, when my brother found him dead, he didn't kill himself. Did I already say that? Let me just say it again. My dad didn't kill himself. When my brother found him, he had to go to the police station because the circumstances that my dad had been found in, and his friend came and picked him up later. And I remember him telling me a story. This was 20 years ago that my dad died. Oh, almost. Was it 20 years? Yeah, 20 years. Over 20 years. Shit. His friend came to pick him up, and he said, my brother told me this story, you know. He said when they were driving home, they had to pull over and stop because there was these lights in the sky that were following them. You know, this was 2005. There was these lights in the sky that kept following them, and him and his friend, they both smoked a lot of weed, you know, and he thought it was like UFOs or something. I don't think he tied the two together, but I mean, I didn't at the time. It's only now looking back that I think, yeah, exactly. Why were these lights following them? You know, what were they doing to my dad's body once it got taken to the mortuary? You know, what kind of technology were they removing, and who was informed? And I wrote a post on my YouTube about the place where I'm working just now. I don't know if people read posts. I read posts because I like reading rather than videos. I like both, but I mean I probably prefer like written word. I take it in better. About where I'm working in the Home Office. These people from the Home Office just appeared one day, and they wanted to interview everybody apparently about working conditions, you know. And I was one of the very few people that they interviewed this morning, and then we broke for lunch, and they made me sign a bit of paperwork. And I'd had a dream a few days before about signing paperwork, and in the dream I'd been like, no, I'm not signing it, you know. But they just asked me these questions about what's it like to work here, your wages, you know. Just they were apparently for, you know, making sure it was fair working conditions kind of thing, you know, from the Home Office. They were going to interview everybody, like I said, but there's hardly an English speaker, so they had these translators on the phone. So we broke for lunch, and I signed this paperwork, just the answers that I'd given, and you know, I kind of regret it, but you can't hold that with you regretting these things. You know, these people are so practiced at what they do, you know, these military types and these kind of gang stalking, the police types, you know, that are involved in this shit. So I signed this paperwork, and then we broke for lunch, and they just fucking disappeared, you know. I was only like, I think they'd spoken to maybe 4 people, and maybe 4, I don't even think that many were going to speak to everyone about these working conditions. They spoke to me, they got me to sign this bit of paperwork, and then they all fucking disappeared as soon as they come. There was about 20 of them, you know, all in high vises. And I found interesting that one of the guys had a long lens camera, you know, and I said to him, what's the camera for? And he said, I just like taking pictures. I thought, yeah, I fucking bet you do. Yeah, but I wonder what you like taking pictures of, you know. It's just interesting to me when I kind of discover these things in my own time that fit in with my life, you know, like the eye floater in my eye, the military. You know, if you look up 77th Brigade of the British military, it's the British military PSYOP division. Why the fuck does the military need a PSYOP division? Yeah, that's kind of, that, I don't know, it baffles me, it really does. Anyway, it's just a quick video because my battery isn't very high, and I want to listen to the rest of this podcast. There's probably more I've got to say, but they're making me shake just now, making me really shake. I wrote a comment below that podcast, and as soon as I wrote that comment, my hands started tremoring, you know, and I felt this really it's like a panic feeling, you know, a real panic feeling in my chest. They kind of induced that when they came into my house and they drugged me. They induced a panic attack on me. Also at that time when they came into my house, this was over the course of a weekend that they did this, that they drugged me. The police and Andrew Fitzpatrick from MFY Partnership in Airdrie. But there's probably military people there as well. I can't remember everybody that was there, you know, because I was drugged, obviously. The person who drugged me was my brother's best friend from childhood. His name is Darren Wilkins. I think it's Watkins or Wilkins. He lives in Clouden Road in Cumbernauld. He was the one that came in and drugged me, you know. No coincidence either, you know, that kind of connection with my brother. But afterwards there was playing a sound of a helicopter outside, and it sounded really loud, and they told me, we're going to play this sound to you, you know, we're going to drive you mad kind of thing. And I said, there was 2 policemen there, and I said, they said that they're going to play this helicopter sign. And he threw open my curtains and he went, look, and there was a helicopter, massive, like hovering right above my living room. I had patio doors in my living room, and it was hovering right above the window, you know. I don't think that was really, there was no possible way that a helicopter could have been that close to my house. It's a built up area, you know. There's no fucking possible way. And again, I think that they were doing something then, kind of projecting some kind of hologram or image on me, you know, to try and frighten me. Also, when they came into my house, I think I've mentioned this before, they said about a code. There's a code, you know, you need to work out this code. And I think that's kind of what they wanted me to do. And I was doing it for a little while, and there was months later, and I was sitting down doing this code. They told me it was to do with the vowels, A-E-I-O-U, and all the letters of the alphabet, how they correspond to different letters. And I was sitting one day and I was doing it, and I had a bit of paper, and I was kind of doing this, and I wrote A-E-I-O-U at the top, and I was kind of trying to figure out this code, and I was getting a bit stuck, you know, but I'd figured out I was using the Lord's Prayer, because this code is apparently in everything, you know. So I was using the Lord's Prayer, like, you know, I can't even remember how the Lord's Prayer goes, but our Father who art in heaven, you know, I'd written it all out, and then I was kind of decoding it underneath, and I wrote, like I said, the vowels at the top. But I'd obviously forgot about them, and then with my eyes they highlighted, you know, like if you get a yellow highlighter, but they done it with light using my eyes, as if, you know, don't forget the vowels kind of thing, you know, you've got to use them. So again, you know, military shit, isn't it? Anyway, that's all for now, so take care, lots of love. I never got to the library this week, but I will try as soon as I can. I'm thinking of you always, so I hope you know that. So take care, lots of love to you all. God bless. Bye bye.